You don't need to throw out everything in your kitchen or follow a complicated meal plan to lower inflammation. In fact, it's small changes you make today that can have a huge impact on your health. And it's consistency. So let's get into it. I'm going to share with you how you can start making tiny, doable shifts that add up with no diet overhaul required. Hi, I'm Christina. I'm a nutritionist and an HS warrior and advocate. And I've been working in the chronic illness space for a decade, helping people better manage their symptoms and have a better quality of life using nutrition as a tool. And while complete diet overhaul and changes have been a part of my journey and some of my clients, they work for them, more and more I'm finding people who want to feel better, need some nutritional support, but cannot do a complete diet overhaul. So what then? I think it's important to meet people where they are. So that's exactly what I'm doing today. And I want everyone to know that it is not a failure. It is not a failure. There are so many different situations. Everybody has different factors in their lifestyle, whether, you're busy, you're overwhelmed, you've got tons of kids, you work 3 jobs, you have, food texture things, like people have different relationships with food. So I don't, anywhere where you are on that spectrum of your relationship with food, you're overwhelmed, you're busy, I want you to find doable, actionable tips that work for you. So let's get into it. Today, by the end of this video, you're going to have 3 to 5 doable things, simple actions that you can start right away. All right. So something I see in my practice a lot is failure because of unsustainable change, right? The perfection isn't the goal, sustainability is. And I think that that's something that people need to really understand. Whatever it is that you're going to do, what's going to get you there is the ability to mess up and keep going. You're not going to do it right every time. You're not going to, even if it's the smallest change in the world, even if it's just drinking more water, there's going to be days where you don't. And that's okay. And the next day you try again, and you try again, and you try again, because every day is an improvement. So let's get that out of the way, right? Even the simple things I'm going to talk about today, even if you don't do them every single day, that's okay. As long as you wake up the next day and try again. Okay? Deal? All right. So number one thing, especially for hidradenitis suppurativa, which is, if you're here, you probably have HS. Welcome. Me too. What's up, twinsy bestie? Hidradenitis suppurativa is an auto-inflammatory chronic skin condition characterized by boil-like abscesses that essentially happen anywhere there's a hair follicle. And there's a really interesting relationship between our hair follicle and testosterone in men and women, right? And there's a really interesting relationship between testosterone and insulin. So there's blood sugar regulation has this multifaceted interaction with hidradenitis suppurativa. One, if you have blood sugar dysregulation where you're chronically having blood sugar spikes and high insulin, that's going to drive inflammation overall, like oxidative stress and other damage to the body. Number two, high insulin can drive high androgens, testosterone, which drives sebum oil production, like oil production in your skin, and hair follicle inflammation, right? And I talk about that more in my my PCOS guide and my Understanding PCOS guide, which I have for free on my website, which is nutritionforhidradenitis-suppurativa.com if you're interested. But blood sugar regulation is important for almost every single person that I've worked with HS, which is a lot of people. And there's studies that show that about 50% of HS patients have diagnosed insulin resistance or some sort of metabolic issue, whether it's type 1, type 2, or insulin resistance. So how can we keep balanced blood sugar without a diet overhaul? Okay. So one of the best ways to do this, and the easiest without cutting out any foods, is changing the order in which you eat your foods, right? So let's say you sit down to your meal, let's say the meal consists of chicken nuggets or chicken tenders, some kind of breaded chicken, and a sauce, a dipping sauce, maybe some fries or some kind of starch, and hopefully there's something green on your plate, maybe some broccoli or a salad or something, right? What I would recommend is leave the fries for last. Eat the chicken first and the broccoli. Eat the broccoli and the chicken first. You can eat them at the same time, or you can eat the broccoli first and the chicken first and the broccoli. Also, I would limit as much sauce, especially if it's a sweet sauce, right? And then you can have your fries last. But you can still eat everything that you have there, but it's just the way in which you eat them. Why? Because simple carbs, right? Fries, potato chips, rice, bread, crackers, soda, juice, sweet tea, all that. That's simple. Simple carbs they're going to burn fast. They're going to go into your bloodstream. They're going to poof, be used up as energy. Think of it as like kindling on a fire, or if I lit a piece of paper on fire, it would just catch on fire and disappear. Versus the chicken, that's going to be a slower burning fuel source, right? So you want to start by eating your meals, eating your protein and your fiber first, and also making sure you have fiber. For example, if you're going to have chicken tenders, one of my favorite things to do, because let me tell you, I love a gluten-free chicken tender, is having it with a fibrous side. I actually skip the fries because I'm like, I'm already getting like carbs in the breading, so I'm going to have my chicken tenders, and I make a good homemade honey mustard because I can limit how much sugar's in it. And then I have it with broccoli or asparagus or a salad. I actually love putting breaded chicken on salad. So having that balance, fiber and protein before your carbs, because you're going to blunt that, you're going to like blunt that blood sugar response. That's number one. Easy peasy, very doable. You have steak, you have potatoes, you have a side of vegetables. Eat your steak, eat your vegetables before your potatoes. Easy peasy, right? You have a pasta dish, eat your vegetables and your protein before your pasta. Same thing with rice. Eat your vegetables and your protein before your rice. That's it. Easy peasy. That's going to have a huge impact on stabilizing your blood sugar. Now, the next thing is also adding in things. Instead of saying, well, I'm not going to eat the rice, or I'm not going to eat the pasta, or I'm not going to eat this, just make sure you're adding things in. Make sure you're adding in fiber, right? Because starch is one thing. Think about like anything that's made from flour, anything that's with rice, especially white rice. Brown rice does have a little bit more fiber, but those things are going to be simple carbs. So you want to have something that has fiber, which is going to be from above ground vegetables, usually leafy greens, cruciferous vegetables, things like that. There's also, fruit does have fiber as well. Some seeds and stuff like flaxseed, chia seed are fibers as well. So you want to have fiber on your plate, which is really important. And Americans are very prone to colon cancer, and more fiber in your diet is proven to reduce your chances of having colon cancer. So make sure you're getting enough fiber. Beans are also high in fiber, and beans are interesting because they have a little bit of protein and they have some carbs and they have some fiber. So let's say you're having, maybe instead of having just rice, do a mix of rice and beans with some chicken and some greens. And that's a great way, instead of just having chicken and rice, now you have fiber in there and you have greens and you have your protein, right? You see what I'm saying? You catch my drift? Adding instead of taking out. One of my favorite things to add to your diet is bone broth. I love sipping on broth. I find it so nourishing and comforting. I do it salted and I add a little apple cider vinegar to it, and I make it myself at home, so it's very affordable. I drink a cup of broth before most meals, and it's going to have fat and protein in it, and it's so soothing to my GI, so it's going to help with my digestion. And just starting my meals with that is going to, again, blunt the blood sugar response, and it's going to curb my appetite a bit. So I already have this cup, that's nourishing, right? But it's lower in calories. It's kind of like volume eating, and so it might help me with portion control. So then I'm less prone to overeating whatever, maybe on my plate. So those are really, really important for HS warriors. The blood sugar regulation piece is key. So blood sugar regulation foundations, order in which you eat your food, fiber and protein first, carbs last. Okay, make sure you're getting the fiber and the protein. Number one. Lowering sugar. Lowering sugar is also really key for HS warriors for a lot of different reasons. The high sugar is going to drive dysbiosis and candida and a lot of other issues that we're prone to. It also impairs in wound healing, and it's going to spike your blood sugar. So the sugar itself, and I know if you eat candy, if you're into sweetened beverages like a lot of juices or sodas or sweet teas, that kind of thing, you want to start reducing them. But you can do easier swaps. Switch to diet soda. Sweeten your tea with a caloric kind of sweetener. If you're into drinking a lot of juice, I would say switch to just eating the fruit. Instead of drinking apple juice, eat an apple. Instead of drinking mango juice, just eat a mango. Fruit is great for you, but the juice is not going to have as many nutrients as eating the whole fruit. So you might as well just eat the whole fruit, get all the minerals and vitamins and the fiber in there, and maybe pair it with a scoop of almond butter or peanut butter or cheese or yogurt, just to have a little fat and protein there, which is also going to blunt that blood sugar response. One of the easiest things that people always overlook is drink more water. Just drink more water. We need water for everything. Water is really important. Stay hydrated, folks. Drink water. And make sure you mind your stress and your sleep. Non-inflammatory triggers are a big one, but high stress, and I think the reason stress is such a trigger for a lot of people and they don't realize, is that stress literally spikes your blood sugar and can mess with your gut integrity. And when you don't sleep well, it makes you more prone to blood sugar dysregulation, and it also makes you hungry, or it literally impairs your messes with your hunger hormone. So having a good nighttime routine and making sure you have breathing exercises that you can rely on. I'm a big fan of those. They're free. They take 2 minutes and they have huge impacts to your nervous system. Just literally take 2 minutes to take deep breaths anytime you feel stressed. At night, dark, cold room. Don't doom scroll at night. Limit your screen time at night. Very important. All right. So remember, you don't have to do this all at once. Just pick one of these things to do and then do it consistently. And that is far more powerful than trying to change everything and burning out. So I really need you to remember that, and don't take everything down and say, I gotta do this all starting tomorrow. Pick one thing and do that until it becomes second nature to you. And then maybe add something else. But again, consistency over time versus perfection. Perfection is the enemy of success. Okay? And I'm gonna leave you with this. I once had a client who only focused on one change, right? They focused on adding in protein and fiber to their meals, especially their snacks. Snacks are their hardest thing. They were a potato chip snacker. And it was something that I didn't want to take away from them. They had a lot of stress going on. So I said, okay, next time you go to get a bowl of chips, what I want you to do is make a snack plate instead. On that snack plate, you're going to put 2 hard-boiled eggs, maybe some pickles, maybe some broccoli, a little bit of dairy-free ranch. Primal Kitchen makes a good one. And then you're going to serve yourself in a cup, like a smaller cup instead of a bowl, some potato chips. And I want you to eat that. Start with the eggs, do the broccoli and the ranch, and finish off with your chips. If after you finish that, you want more chips, you can go get more. And when they came, we talked in our second call, they were like, wow, it's so crazy because sometimes by the time I finished the broccoli and the eggs, I didn't even want the chips anymore. But also, if I had that whole plate, it was more like a meal and I just wasn't hungry for hours versus when I just used to have the chips. And then literally I'd have the chips and then 10, 20 minutes later, I want something else and I want something else. And you're just constantly hungry because a bowl of chips isn't going to fill you up. So I'm telling you, these small changes work, and you can see a lot of progress with these changes. It doesn't have to be a full-blown elimination diet, people. Okay? So I want you to comment below and let me know which small change you're going to try first. Make sure to subscribe. I'll be posting a lot more content here. You can follow me on TikTok, on Facebook, on Instagram. And remember to check out my website for that free PCOS guide at nutritionforhidradenitis suppurativa.com. Love you guys. Bye.